Okay, okay, okay. Hi, beautiful people. So we are waiting for the guests to join us. Eugene Doherty from Gambia. What is actually going on? I think we are having a technical issue. My guess is funny. It's very, very difficult to join. So I don't know. Almost we have consumed 40 minutes already, and it's not easy. It's our first time coming live, so I think some of these things are a bit new for us, and we are, I mean, rallying our hands on and how we can do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You see, my guest is now watching me, but I just don't know the reason why. Um, Eugene, I've sent you the. So, Eugene, I have sent you the link again. So, tap on the link if to see if you can join the live show. Can you tap on the link? I just sent it to you right now. Can you see it again live from there again? Hmm? But I don't know. My camera is not showing again. Yeah, it's blurry here too as well. I don't know. Okay. Hello. Yes. Can you hear me, Eugene? All right. So, can you hear me? You can hear me. Hello, Eugene. Brother Eugene. All right. Brother Eugene, can you hear me? Yeah, Brother Eugene, can you hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm on.
Come again. At the comment section, please. Those of us watching, those of you watching, please let me know if you can hear me. Oh, oh my goodness, this is not easy, man. Seriously, it's very hectic. I think my guest just left. Actually, I don't really know what is going on. We are having a technical challenge and for almost 45 minutes now, and still we can't hear each other. So I think we will just postpone this. But then I just want to let you guys know. Okay, let me add him again. All right. So adding him again, then let's see if Eugene can hear me. Yes, Eugene, are you there? Eugene, Eugene, can you hear
Hello,
me?
Raymond, I can't see you.
You can't see me. Eugene, can you hear me? Oh, guys, don't really know what is going on. Wow, he said he can't see me. Can you see me? Really?
Yeah, yes. Can't see your face.
You can see my face. Okay, let me see. Comment. All right. Can you? Just like we can just blow on. Can you see me? Hmm? Can you see me? Can you see me now? Yes, what are you doing? Yes, yes. All right. So, Eugene, can you see me now?
Hello.
Yes, Eugene, can you see me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see your face.
Oh, wow, but the audience said they can see me. So I just don't know the reason why.
confirm.
Yes, they can. They can see. They can see both of us. So yes, I'm fine. And you? So can you? So you can see me, right? Okay, then I think then that is fine. So far as the audience can see, they can see me, they can see both of us. Then I think that is okay. Fine.
All right.
Yes. All right. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Um, I'm Raymond Echi Agbalenyon. Today, we are going to discuss a topic: exclusive participation and shaping. And I have my guest here from Gambia, Eugene Doherty. So, Eugene, I want you to introduce yourself. I see you right here.
My name is Eugene Duarte. I'm a Gambian. Me as the guest, director for a academic foundation. We look at education as well. And previously, I know years ago when I met your guest, I'm teaching as
So, can you speak a bit loud?
a background as well. So just in short,
Oh, that's very good.
mm,
All right. So today we are going to discuss
we are going to discuss.
topic shaping exclusive participating in, yeah, inclusive participating in shaping Africa, and we are diving deep in how every single one
Yes.
of us, women, youth, rural community, and the diaspora, how we can contribute of building a strong Africa or a better. So here we are going to discuss the rule and how can we contribute or our part we will play in shaping the Africa that we want. So, Mr. Eugene,
Yes.
yeah. So, how can we like exclusive participating in shaping Africa? So, if somebody hearing us in the rural, like if somebody who live in the rural area of Africa, how are the rules of what are the things they need to do and how to build Africa?
Okay. So I said the guest is inclusive. That's a typing error. So before we discuss further, we will just tell you the background, a little background, why I think this is important for us to have such a. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
Important, um, just to survive. We're just trying to go through the days, and we are looking at things as Pan African is if we don't redefine to Pan Africanism, we don't redefine how the ideology is to be cultivated, how we should engage with our people, then we are going to have a stuck somewhere because it will be a movement. It will not be a movement of the elite. And it's for anything to be sustainable in life, we need to be inclusive. We need to be inclusive in nature. So what I can say is that Africa, for now, African society is a hope-driven society. What I mean by a hope-driven society, it actually we are just hoping for a messiah. We are waiting for someone, one of
Yeah.
a kind of a leader that will come and take up all our burdens just in one day. But that kind of society is not what we're talking about here. The kind of society we're talking about here is the one that is fit to live in, the ones that are working towards an expected end. So in terms of that, we now dive into define how can we now define inclusive participation in African terms for towards the development to your question. And we can define this in three words: who, what, and where. If as Africans we don't still know it, who stands for who am I and who are you? And what stands for what do I do and what do you do? And where stand for where are you going and where am I going?
Yeah.
If these questions are answered, we will establish an inclusive participation in Africa. And when it comes to the Pan African movement, who also can stand for a common identity. We all know we have a diversity, but we must come together to develop a common identity, a common value, and a common attributes. What stand for the purpose, our responsibilities, and our accountability. What are you here on earth to do? Why are you an African? What do you African do? What is African pursuing? We must define the purpose of us as a people. Then where is the destination? Where are we going? I think because we now have a context of destinational problem. And in a community where we don't know where we are going, we are just trying to survive the days as coming by. As I said, we have
Yeah.
to move from where we are hope driven to where we are now faith driven. We are trying to bring things into existence. We are trying to build hospital. We're trying to build the economy, all inclusive. If we do not have a purpose as a people, then we have a problem about what is the inclusive part. So, in definition, inclusiveness is where a community of African community voluntarily and jointly define their common identity. They jointly define their common values. They jointly define their common attributes, and that is motivated. Something must motivate that. That is motivated purpose and a sense of responsibility, accountability, aim at a common end. So let me just explain that definition of what I define as inclusive participation of uh, African society community. Remember, in the definition, it says the community should come together and make a voluntary decision. Two, they should jointly define what is our common identity. And three, they should have an attitude that is common attitude towards life, towards
Yeah.
development. Yeah. And then they should establish a purpose. What is the purpose of why are we existing as African nation? Why do we exist? When we come together and participate in developing the right Pan-African ideology, then we will now strive together to establish that Africa that we want. But when we have two different type of definition of what Pan-Africanism is, we will not last long. But define, in coming to define who we are as African, what is our identity together? And we are not forcing people, we're not forcing you to accept an identity that you don't want to. We are trying to carve a unique identity, a unique sense of recognition. Let me explain a little bit about the who, because who am I is who you are. Do I see you? Because maybe I'm born in the Gambia, you're born in Ghana.
Yeah.
And do I see you as how I see myself? If I have a problem of who you are and I call you a foreigner, then we are not inclusive in nature. So when
Yeah.
we are in the African context, it has to embrace these three words. We see each other as in uniform identity as Africans, and we see each other as with having one purpose. The purpose is which we stand, and we have the responsibility, global responsibility. I think it's time for Africans to take up responsibility of themselves, of the
Yeah.
nations, and of who we are. Yes.
All right. So you do mention about,
Yes, sir.
and all the things that you said, I think over here in Africa, we are lacking if it comes to identity theft. We don't really know who we are. So if somebody else, an African, someone who's watching us, who want to discover his or herself or to know her identity, because remember, the colonialists, when they were here, they have changed the concept, they have changed our tradition, because our tradition, that's our heritage and our pride, that make us who we are as an African. But that have been changed and it have been evilized. So you can see an African child don't want to see he or herself as an African, but rather trying to retain a Western culture. So I think, how can we discover ourselves as an African, or how can we know that we are Africans? How can we do that?
That's a very that beautiful question, Raymond. I will make us to start from here. You
Okay.
animal than to actually raise the dead person back to life. It's very hard. Give him back, and this is where I am saying now. We must understand, accept the past. There's something that have happened.
Yeah.
This has gone wrong. Now, how do we rectify the mistakes? Because we know something has gone wrong. We all have little of our identities. But now, what kind of identity do we draft in? And that is where drafting in the identity, someone on the traditional caste ruling system again in Africa,
Yeah.
there are people who speaks against that. The someone may go against some type of some practices in the modern day. So what do we need to do? It needs to be a DNA now. We all have to sit down and says, what is our common identity? What do we all agree on should be the identity of an African child? So this is basically going back to those of us who are pertaining as we are Pan-African is to say, let's come together, let's sit down, let the imam sit down, let the pastor sit down, let the traditionalists sit down, let the elders sit down, let the young people sit down, let the women sit down and discover an identity, a custom, a way of life that all of us now said, this is what we accept as our way of life. In other words, I'm saying we need the African Bible, right? The African Bible. The American have the American Bible, African
Yeah.
Bible that shows the purpose. When we're talking, I wanted to give an example of the Jewish community because when I look at this, I've really researched and study communities, even what make America an American country, what make the Europeans the European countries. Everyone go through hard times. All of them have their bloody experience in
Yeah.
history. But Africa itself is one that have to pick up itself now and said, we have lost so many things, but how can we rebuild back? And we need to be a movement that unites the whole of Africa, and we can unite ourselves through a common identity. And that
Yeah.
common identity, if to be defined, you go to the Jewish community, you look into their Torah, they find a man called Abraham, and that man is their fathers, and they begin to tell you, We have a purpose. Our purpose is to be a blessing to the whole world. They have a custom, they have a way of life. It's the same thing. If Africans don't also have a purpose, if our spirituality does not give us a purpose, then we have a problem still, because we can talk about what has happened. When the Jews was founded, they were actually in modern day Iran, and their father came from the modern day Iran right now as Abraham. So you look at
Yeah.
how that man separated himself even from his relatives and formed a culture and formed a unique identity that and gave his people a sense of purpose. So to the young person now, that we what we're trying to do is, we are not trying to define things by ourselves, but we are trying to say, let's come together now and define and write the African Bible. The Bible that defines what, because Bible means the books that works on our consciousness. It's a library, but it
Yeah.
has to do with our spirituality. It has to do with our consciousness, and has to do with our identity. How many things we are reading about the African history? Sometimes you are even fighting to doubt whether some history are well said. But
Yeah.
if we at this time, now we realize we have not been giving focus to ourselves. We don't have an identity. Bow down to anybody. It's a culture, it's their nature. So
Yeah.
why? But an African man will allow his children to go and beg. I look at the Jewish society in Detroit, America, and I was observing them through different documentaries and live explanations about what happened. You see the black community in America, you see the difference. How did the Jews in outside their country is still powerful? Is because they first of all they have a common identity and they
Yeah.
need to agree on that. They have different tribes, just like Africa. We have different tribes. But how do we unite all these tribes? And how do we unite all the spiritualities that we have in Africa? That is the conversation that we are having now, that we need that inclusive participation where everybody is participating to define a new Africa, so that we can go back to these young people and tell them this is who an African is now.
Yeah. So, on the comment section, we have Mohib Travel and Age. She says, yes, we should have a common identity. So, I want to know, how can we have that common identity?
Okay, so this is a call for us to come together, because we cannot do it in isolation. I need a Ghani, I need the people to come and form a kind of a movement that we sit down and said, okay, let's have the conversation on our common identity. Let's describe who is an African man. And
Yes.
then we will, just as I say, in summary, let's write the African Bible, the one that guides the soul of an African. The soul. You know, there is also in every country they have the soul of the citizen. The soul. It's naturally, you are naturally born with that soul. So it's in our soul, the soul of an African. Let the
Yeah.
people, the young people come together now and say, we are going to write. You know, they have what they call the American Bible. It's different from the Christian Bible, you think. It
Yes.
shows
Yes.
the bedrock on the principles and the values that Americans stand for, and what the founding father have when they were establishing the nation. It's not a constitution. A constitution is law. It doesn't tell you how we is governed. It tells us about who we are and the sense of our existence and what we fight for and what we don't fight for. As of now, African fight for anything once it's in an interest of a nation.
Yes.
We don't have a decisiveness of what we should fight for and what we should not fight for. That because we lack some form of identity crisis.
Yes.
So if
I
young people can have a network that comes, I can say, We call ourselves the new Pan-Africanism that comes and say we want to define a common identity where every man, the Fula man, the Jola man, the Madinka, the different tribes in Africa, the Bantu, the Igbo man, see themselves and said we embrace this as a common identity.
All right. So I want to ask you this: all these things happen, is the all the cause of colonization, because they didn't come to colonize us, but they came to what impose their religion on us, and that's what changed our identity. And since then, even though now the colonizers are not there, but still the harm is still there. They have brainwashed our grandfathers, turned back on their spiritual, and that is their identity. That is who they are. So how then can we revive that? Because that is the only way we're going to know our identity. That's the only way we can discover ourselves. Because remember, Bob Marley said in his song that if you know who you are, or then you know where you are going, then you know where you are coming from, then you know where you are going. And then Marcus Garvey also said, a tree without a roots, it means there's no tree. So if you are a people without your history or your cultural background, you are just like a tree without a roots. So before an African child, how then can you can we do away with this? Because we also saying one thing, that civilization. So, due to civilization, we don't want to connect ourselves with our elders. In Ghana, we have something formal education and informal education. And then when you see informal education, it teaches us a lot about our culture, our tradition. Back in days, we don't have a court system, we have arbitration system, and that is very good. How then can we revive this? How, as a youth, we have to go back to our hometown, the history, our elders, they are still there. We need to connect with them. How then can we do that? Because the concepts or the narrative that is out there, it's evil. That is how we make it to be. So you will see an African child feel shy to pertain like he or her identity because she think it is barbaric.
I,
You see?
I will, yes, so I will come there. Let's be honest as Africans. There is a problem when you mention I am an African right now because of how we are governing, how we are doing things, how we are living our life. Just looking at the news and see the kind of calamity happening even in the diaspora. I think the African society is in a mess. But when somebody is in a mess, you don't expect the world to come. You have to clean up yourself. You have to set yourself in order because nobody is going to stop you from establishing your values. Remember, I always go back and say, I learn from people from other society, even from the European nation. Come on. China was not like that. They were all in disarray. It comes to one person, it comes to the point where we say, let's define who we are as a people. And that value is not a constitution. You always want to go into the politics side. But when I it's the book that tells us that inspire the consciousness of the African child. Now, why that African child is not going to be proud to say I'm an African is because there's nothing to be proud of. That
It's
we have
true.
not defined it. To be honest, we have not defined it. And now, this is the time, I'm saying, if we begin to say we want to go back to where we come from, we want to build this to where we come from. Okay, if you are in a place you don't know where to go back, you don't know where to go from, where you are, you can start from there. This is
Yeah.
why it's the time for participation, where all the African youth are saying now we can find ourselves right now. Now we can things have gone wrong in our history. Now we can have the right, and now we can define who is an African. we have to sit down and we question our brains. And this one is saying, no, I don't accept this definition. This one is saying, no, I accept this definition. This one is saying, no, this is the definition, until we come to a census and say, this is who is an African. But we cannot have generation come, generation go, and we're saying the colonial masters are there, they're going to, they're evil, they're doing so evil. We need to take responsibility of land, because I think we have great independence. And independence comes responsibility. Now
Yeah.
is the time for us to build back the image of what an African man stands for, what are his core values, how does an African community operate. I had a friend who traveled to South Africa, for example, right?
Yeah.
And when she went, she looks at the community, she looks at the black community in South Africa, and she look at the white community in South Africa. 100% she love to go and build and live amongst the white community. And I always said, when you see an American pass through your country, you know he's an American, because they have the same attributes and the same attitude to things. So he was like, no, in the black community. So now slavery did not teach us anything good. But now you have the opportunity to teach your young people new values, new sense of identity, that they build their self-esteem and dignity. If we are able to define that and make that the basis of the African identity. So when an African man is studying through the new Pan-African, the new image of an African, he's able to conceive in his mind that this is who I am. And when he sits amongst world leaders, he's not going to be fighting, because he's already trained. We did not
Yes.
train the children to develop a very strong identity. Most of us were not trained. And so we think that is a, but now we are people, we are no more having chains in our hands. So what stop us? They always said this proverbs and to us that there is a man, he has a goat, and then he tied the goat since it was young in one place. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, he changed it to a very tiny rope and keep it there. So now, up to now, that goat is big and can even break that chain, but still he's thinking that the chain is stronger than him because of what he's experienced. That
Yeah.
is where we are as African now. We think that we cannot define things. It is not a taboo to go back. You have this is where, when the dead
You
have
know,
gone.
in Ghana, we have one idiom, Sankofa Yenchi. If you go back and pick, it's not a bad. Like, you go back, what you have lost, go back. So I think that is what we need to do as Africa. So I think Yusuf is watching us from Liberia. He said hi. And Mohe Travel and Co said, I think African history must be taught at our early stage in the form of or tales. What do you think about it? Is a suggestion?
That is where we don't do much as Africans. We don't tell our stories. If you see great people doing great things in our country, we don't tell our stories, and we learn a lot of values out of our stories as well. But one of the things I am learning, I've learned from the system, we don't even know how to explain the stories to the children. So we have good curriculum in histories, but we don't know how to explain the history itself to the children. So when I was with a student that said, they say, I don't like history. They don't like it. Why don't they like it? It's because we don't raise the reason, why are you studying this? What is it? How is it going to affect history? Why should you know history? So when I will teach history, and especially the trans-Sahara trade, and then I'll tell you, okay, yes, this is what was happening before colonialism, before even the white people. This is the exchange. I want you to think now. How can you exchange salt for a human being? An African is still doing that same mistake in history.
Yeah.
And that's the point that we have to come and say, now we have to learn from it. So, of course, we need to go back. That is where now we come and sit together and write our African tales together. and
Yes.
have men enjoying our resources because we have the expertise, we have the people who can change it. We youth, if you youth gather together, just like one of the audiences, the participant in the audience said, if youth come together and they're saying, okay, we want to write tales, we create that tales, we begin to write African tales that are indeed carrying the values, showing the strength and the might, the wisdom of the African man, and then we're proud. That is what we call inspiring lessons in schools now. You have
Yeah.
to have inspirations, how to inspire them to become something. And that is very important that we look at all our African brothers and write about their lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very great. I think, due to technical issue,
Yeah.
we consume most of the time. So this we need to continue
Yeah.
this same topic, because I think now we are the part where, like, we are still part of this identity. So
Yes. And
next week, we because before we can do something, or as an African, we can involve collectively of developmental things, we have to first identify yourself. And as an Africans or Black people, we are suffering from identity. Even our brothers and sisters in the diaspora are also suffering. Some are calling themselves, I'm a Black American, I'm a Black Asian, I'm a Black Caribbean, Black this. No, it doesn't matter. So far as you are Black, you are an African. So I see no reason why you attack. And then over here too, we call ourselves Christians, but we don't really know anything about our tradition. We don't really know anything about our custom. So we have to go back to the community level, and our elders, we need to draw close to them that they can teach us. I quite remember when I was young, my grandmother used to tell us legends. And those legends is not just a story, but it also we it teach us how to live in a community, and we learn a lot from these legends. But nowadays, it's no more, and our education system is also playing a major role to deprive, to suppress our identity. Every African child have a basic knowledge, and this basic knowledge, when you go to school, they don't know anything about themselves. And it's all about Western culture. So I think next week we are going to tackle this topic very well. How then can we bring the two together? It is good to learn about other culture also, but first you must to know your culture. That's the first thing you have to know, because that is yourself. That's who you are. That is your pride. That is your
now,
heritage. And that is your dignity. And if you don't know this, then it looks like you don't exist. Because your existence is your culture, your your your, your tradition, y- your heritage. That is your pride. And that's who you are. So I think this is what we need to know before we can talk about how we can participate in terms of developmental things. So, Dr. Eugene, thank you very much. It's been a great honor. Now we learn from it. So I think next week Sunday we will not encounter this problem as I think Mohi Travel and Talk said we must identify and accept ourselves. Yes, we need to accept ourselves, especially our women's. See the way they dress, the wig, and like they try to wash away their skin, which it is not good. So we have to what, accept ourselves. And then, so Julian, next week I think we need to retackle this very well about our identity. How African child will embrace his or her identity, will love herself.
before I just hint the audience for next week, because I think even this a lot.
Yeah. a lot.
But
So I think we will go one
but
after the other, so that if
the,
anyone who is watching through that person can identify he or herself who he
yeah,
is,
it's
who he is as Africans. Because first you need to know, if you know yourself, then you can now know your purpose. Then you can know why am I here? Because you are not born African, you are not born here just because you are chosen to be here. No, you are
so
chosen to be an African by the creator.
so
So when you deprive
yeah.
your identity, it look like you are turning away from your creator. You are turning away from God. But we don't know this. We don't know. Because in God's own wisdom, He make you Ewe. He make you an Ashanti. You see, for a purpose. You don't choose to be Igbo. No, it is not by your choice. It is a choice of the maker. So it is time for us to seek. Why am I Igbo? Why am I Ivory Coast? Why am I from Ivory Coast? Why am I Ubuntu? You see? Why am I Madinke? Why am I Swahili? Like we need to know. So I think we have a lot to
We
cover.
have a lot, yeah,
Yes.
because you even go deeper. When you really understand that this is my identity, then you have to define what is my purpose. Why am I
Yes.
in this? Why am I existing? What is my
Yes.
contribution to my community? What's my contribution to the world? Are we
You
just going to be supporting whatever we want to support? And
Very
it's
good, because once you know all these things, then now you began to what? Once you know your identity, you began to know your purpose. Then you began to what? Connect with others to
to
bring
build.
change, and the
Yeah,
change that we are looking for, the change that we are looking for, and that is
yeah.
how we can bring all this. But at the moment, we are lost. It's like we are of no existence.
So now this is the call of saying, let's come together and define that identity together.
Yes, together.
And as a response, define our community.
Mhm.
Young who really want to join these should come together and say, let's indeed, we need to have this discussion in behind closed doors and talk about what is the African identity. Then we
Yes.
take it, we all support it. We can even put it to the African Union and say, leaders, this is the African identity. And they can now share it with all the diaspora. When they want to know who they are, they can just read it and get the knowledge of who they
Yes.
are. But it's going to take effort
Yes.
because unless somebody find the goal, we cannot know where the goal is. Somebody have
It's
to go and
true.
search it.
It's true.
Yeah, somebody have to go and look for it, and we need to put the pieces together. Now we are lazy to go back and start putting the pieces together. That's the problem. But let's
Yeah.
put the pieces together and let's find a uniform. Now the problem is not the this kind of uniform identity should be embraced by all. I know everybody longs for an African identity, but who are the people who will rise up and say, we are going to now define that identity together? And when we define it, we bring it, and the whole community is able to say, yes, we can associate with that and
Yes.
accept it. And I think it's way we present the identity to our people that would be the problem. But when we sit together as young people and we really define this identity, then we are good to go.
Yes. Thank you very much. So, my viewers, if you are watching me right now, Mother Africa is calling you. Mother Africa is calling its children to what? Come together for us to discover ourselves, our identity, our purpose, and the reason why we are here. So please pick up the call, Mother Continent or Mother Africa is calling its children. Please, if you are listening right now, Mother Africa is calling you. Come call. All right. So Mohe Travel and Tour said this was very
Uh,
inspiring. Thanks,
okay.
thanks for
Good.
this education.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So it's been a great honor having you, Eugene,
Thank you. Thank you.
from
Thank you.
Gambia.
All right. Thank you very much.
Brother at you see from
All right.
Liberia. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone. So yeah, we say goodbye.